Hey folks, Chris McLean back with another episode of the show. And in the studio today, I've got Perry from Missing Link Social Media, and they are specialists in Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn paid ads. Excited to get into all things PPC and paid traffic and all that good stuff with Perry. Perry, thanks for dropping by, mate.
G'day, thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. So you're a master of social media. What got you into the social media game? You're just really good at your Instagram profile and you thought, I'll do this as a business, or have you studied marketing? What got you into launching a social media agency?
Yeah, it was certainly the latter. It depends how far we go back, really. But way back in the day when I was at high school, I actually wanted to leave and be a builder, but then I hurt my back, and so I studied hard enough to get into university, still not really knowing what I wanted to do, and then I studied a Bachelor of Business and majored in marketing, and really found that consumer behavior and the whole psychology of marketing was something that I really enjoyed, and also the creative component of it as well. So definitely found my love in marketing at that point. And then they weren't teaching social media marketing where I was studying at university, and so it was really just kind of becoming a thing. It had only really been in high school for a little while. So this is back in 2006. When I was still at high school, and so a few years through university, and I could really start to see how I guess how social media was becoming a dominating channel of people's attention, and wherever attention is, marketers will naturally follow. So it really started to seem like a pretty huge opportunity, and leading into finishing uni, it took me a while to get through it. I kind of did it on and off, and basically went and studied abroad at Michigan State University, and that's where I studied social media marketing, and took that knowledge back with me and started a business. I was also working as a DJ at the time, and I was also working in the office as well as DJing at different venues. And when I was in the office, I was managing about 12 different venues' social media accounts, and just mainly doing organic, but starting to see an opportunity with paid. I think we might have had like $100 a month for each venue to promote posts or boost posts or something like that. But with understanding uni and the academic side of marketing, I could really start to see an opportunity. So I started building my business plan in the last year of uni in 2012, and basically started registered my business name at the end of 2012, Missing Link Social Media, and it's basically grown from there. I saw that was the year actually that Facebook acquired Instagram for $1 billion, which is nothing when you think about its value now. And and they just launched. Absolutely. If I could take $1 billion loan and I knew how to manage a business, it probably would have been pretty tempting. But they acquired Instagram, and also they launched ads on mobiles, which is pretty crazy now to think about using Facebook on your phone without seeing any ads. But that was happening, and so it's a huge opportunity. And they did a bit of a competitor analysis, and there weren't really too many established companies that specialized in social media marketing. And so I went down that path, and I haven't looked back.
Yeah, well, so to play on the name a bit, what did you find? What is the missing link in social media when you sort of did that SWOT analysis and looked at the market? Was there a component of social, or the way people were running social at the time, that you thought we can do that better? Was there a particular thing, or was it just a general people weren't really servicing that industry very well at the time?
Yeah, I kind of picked the name at the time, assuming that it would come in handy. You know what I mean? And over the years, as I've learned and invested in my own research and development, and learned from my team and learned from our clients and learned from mentors, the missing link has kind of evolved and moved and shifted. you know, and to this day, I think there's a couple of key things that are the missing link when it comes to social media. And but at the same time, it's beyond social media as well. You know, sometimes the missing link can be the person's website having some serious website conversion rate optimization done. Sometimes it can be, especially for an e-com brand, sometimes for a business to business services based business, it can be investing in a decent sales CRM and looking into some lead nurturing and understanding the sales process and how we can link the quality of the lead that we're generating right through an acquisition from the original ad that lead came from, and from the audience and the campaign that came from. So it really does change. And I guess part of our process before we work with anyone is to do a pretty thorough audit of all of the above and understand what their missing link is.
Yeah, love it. So you're really looking at social media kind of as that central hub, but you're really looking at the business ecosystem as a whole, not just what's happening on the social channels, which I
Yeah.
actually find really interesting. Sort of a pivot to. I mean, I studied similar to you, sort of a business degree with marketing, but I graduated in 2000. So yeah,
Okay.
there was way pre social media, but then it's literally the industry's flipped on its head now. So to actually lead with social media as the central place to pivot from, and then look at the business outside of that. It's a really different lens, but obviously that's the way the world is now. But it's interesting that you can sort of position as social media, but social's so integral to the business nowadays that you do actually need to look sort of around the edges of that hub and understand the rest of the business. Was that
100%.
obviously that was just kind of natural to you because that was the world that you were going into? Yeah, but where do you find is there we're talking about the missing link? Is there a particular link that more people get wrong than others? Is it the website? Is it you sort of about talk about CRO and e-com? It's sort of maybe some
Yeah.
finer detail. Is there a glaringly obvious thing that more people than not get wrong?
There's probably three things, and it's not as much to do with social media as it is before or after social media. And
Yeah,
so
right.
one of them is video content. You know, if you're a services-based business or a product-based business, you know, video content does serve an integral part of communicating an effective message, and that's what marketing is. You know, you need to make people feel a certain way, and you need to understand what the customer journey is and how you can move them through each stage of that customer journey or your funnel or whatever it is that you're looking at. And so, you know, sometimes people come to us and, you know, they've been using stock photography, and it's like, that's got to go, that's got to stop. You know, so there's certain things like that that really impact the creative, and we enforce a lot of the time a photographer or a videographer, because otherwise we'll just be, you know, pushing it uphill, you know, and it impacts our performance and how they judge our success. So, you know, gone are the days where you can get away with that. You know, people's expectations of the content that they see on social media have evolved, you know, and you just can't get away with that. So content, specifically the visual assets that you're pushing in front of people, they really need to be on point. And obviously, you know, you've got then social media, you're targeting and understanding the tools and the tactics and all that sort of stuff as well. But certainly creative has a really important role to play, and a lot of people get that wrong and just jump into creating ads without really putting enough weight on that. And then, as you touched on before, the website also needs to be a conversion machine. Otherwise, all of this amazing attention and value that you're adding at the top of the funnel, you know, as you start to introduce people to your solutions and they eventually hit your website, they might just get let down. And one of my biggest fears in marketing is educating a potential customer about a problem that they never knew they had, and then they understand they need a solution like yours, and then they get to your website and then they think, oh, I might just, do a bit of a comparison, as a lot of people do. You've got no reviews, you've done the copywriting on your website yourself, it's stock photography that you've purchased, or it's just, you've taken some shots of your product in the garage, which again, if you're in startup and you need to be there, cool. But at the same time, you don't want to overinvest in paid advertising and having an agency manage your ads if you haven't really thought about how all of that is going to turn into dollars. And a lot of that comes down to your website's ability to convert. So that's another glaringly obvious thing. And then as well, the third thing is what's happening via email. So, whether using, we're also certified partners with Klaviyo, which we use for our e-com clients, and we're certified partners with ActiveCampaign, which we use for our services-based clients. And then we have some pretty upfront questions about what their sales process is, what their abandoned cart process is, what their customer service is like. Again, because at the end of the day, if we're generating leads for a services-based B2B company and they don't even have a spreadsheet of how they're monitoring lead quality, following up with leads, and they're on the phone to us saying lead quality is shit, but they're taking 2.5 days to respond to a lead, then we can certainly do things at our end, but at the end of the day, like, it's not going to convert if you're taking 2.5 days to respond to someone. It needs to be within 5 minutes, ideally. So it's really about setting those expectations and taking a really solid step back before we launch into things, because at the end of the day, if our client isn't winning, we're not winning, and the relationship's not going to be sustainable. So that's one of the biggest things that we've evolved and taken ownership of. And with our clients, it's all about setting expectations, and if they're not ready, we don't take them on.
Yeah, love it. That expectation management, such a massive piece that a lot of agencies can get wrong, or they just sort of gloss over it, or don't do it the right way, or get kind of beholden to the client and operating on the client's schedule rather than their own. And it ends up with nightmare clients and working too hard and over servicing and or these sort of negative outcomes. How do you manage that process? Because it's really critical to do. How do you have those conversations? Is it baked into the sales process? Is it, you talked about sort of that upfront auditing and getting into their business? Is it built into that onboarding process? Is it just part of your sales process? How do you start to have that negotiation and set that expectation with your clients to let them know, right, you're buying social media services from us, but that doesn't actually just mean running ads. That means we need to understand where we're sending that traffic, right? And once we've sent it somewhere, what happens? Who picks up the phone call? When are you going to, and what's your process? I think that's really important. But that could be a weird conversation for a client to have when they said, hey, I want Facebook ads, and suddenly you're going, tell me about your fulfillment process. So how do you have that conversation?
Well, it comes down to one of our values, which is act as if you own. Another one is speaking with candor. So it just comes naturally throughout the sales conversation, and we have a documented sales process which is there to help us, but as much as to help them as well. To ask the right questions to ensure we're on the same page from the start. Things do pop up though, and when they do pop up, we do have those sort of conversations, but it's normally more around, I guess, managing the scope and that sort of thing, because we don't charge on an hourly rate. We charge on packages. So that's kind of sometimes where the conversation can get a little bit interesting, but we have in our agreements, and we also set the expectations that, look, if things do start to get a bit crazy, we'll let you know, and we're not going to do anything until we have just a good, genuine conversation about, like, hey, look, we initially said we'd be having this many campaigns, we're running this many campaigns, or we're doing all of this stuff, so the high majority of the time it's just a good mutual conversation where we can pull things back, or they can pay a bit more, so we can really help them grow, because we don't ever want to inhibit their growth. We want to help help the business grow. And sometimes if they're, doubling their ad spend, tripling their ad spend or more, and that means more love, more attention, and that conversation comes naturally. But in terms of, a lot of it really does come from the sales process and the onboarding, and also the strategy. When we dive in to the strategy component, and we get them to complete their questionnaire, and we assess that. We have our strategy workshops, and we do all of those sorts of things. Things pop up then as well, and we can address them there and nip them in the bud there. But at the end of the day, my intention is always to help them get the best value out of our services, and to help their business grow. So as long as we're both focused on that one thing, like me questioning them about their sales process is there to help them. I kind of think about myself as, in those situations and throughout the sales process, as more of a doctor asking the right questions to help diagnose their problem and then prescribe a solution, as opposed to it's for my benefit, because the only way, like I said, it's going to be sustainable is if they're winning. So it's just about speaking with candor and having the right intent.
Yeah. I love the way that you phrased that and actually built that into your value system as well. Because that is a super important component, and having more rigor and more structure around that client engagement from the agency owner perspective can feel like you're dominating, or you're doing too much stuff, or you're being too restrictive, but actually leads to better engagements, which I'm sure you found, because the client then sees you as the expert and that's how you want to position. You want to position as, we're the expert, trust us, we get marketing, we understand how businesses need to operate. So we're setting these structures for your own benefit. But agencies can miss that and not have enough rigor and enough structure in that front end onboarding engagement. Here's the rules. Here's how everything's going to operate. Here's what we expect from you, and here's what you can expect from us. It sounds sort of fairly fundamental, but it can get missed. And when it does get missed, that's when engagements unfold, and clients can tend to feel the need to step in and go, hang on, I don't feel like I trust what you're doing. I don't feel like that you've got this. I'm going to step in and I'm going to start to micromanage and, get push pixels and all this kind of stuff. And that's when when a client doesn't have that confidence, and that confidence comes from that restriction, right? From setting the right laneways at the front.
I heard a while ago, a gentleman said, agreements prevent disagreements. And another one is like, if I bring it up now, it's we're on the same page, but if I bring it up later, it's an excuse. You know what I mean? So if you bring it up after the fact, it can come across like it's either an excuse, or you just, because they obviously haven't agreed to that up front, right? So, and that's one of the other things, about to step into my 9th year of doing this, and still learning every week, every month. But that learning turns into evolving systems and processes. It's something that was taught to me very early on. That if you find yourself in a situation where the same thing happens twice, or even if you think it could happen again, go back to your systems, your processes. We use Asana for our project management, and we have everything documented in there, from when a client signs with us right up to when we're doing our first month of reporting, all services, everything. So that enables us to ensure that we're on top of our commitments, and we can hold them accountable to theirs, and meet their expectations, and surpass their expectations wherever we can.
Yeah, lots of really nice takeaways there. And getting this stuff set up right from the start, but then all from the client side, but internally, as you say, having something like Asana or ClickUp or Teamwork or whatever you're running to actually operationalize these systems, I think is really, really important as well. And having documented workflows and documented operations and SOPs and all that good stuff can take a lot of time to actually get right, but
it's not sexy. It's not fun.
It's super unsexy, but it has the outcome of actually a pretty sexy
100%.
Right?
When you think about, I won't have to deal with that next time because I would have addressed that up front. It's like, especially the really painful situations, what's not sexy. finding yourself in a very, emotional, negative situation with the client, or spending a bit of time learning and evolving, and avoiding that in future. I think it's probably a look. Yeah, it's the whole why behind it, right? If the pain outweighs the gain, you might not do it. But if the pain outweighs, staying where you are now and it happening again, I think you'll do it. So
yeah, well, yeah. As I said, better to invest some time and get some, even if it's shooting a quick Loom video of a process, right? Get something documented to say, hey, this is how I would do this thing, or when I've done it in the past and it's worked, this is what I clicked and I did this, and here's the process. At least you start to get something down that someone else can look at and go, right, now I get how that works. I can learn that process. And then do you find that your team starts to iterate on that? They get someone that's doing that every day now goes, okay, that's how it's supposed to be done, but I found a better way to do it. Or maybe we could shift something a bit to make it better. Or is it is it fairly set and forget?
It's definitely evolving. Like, I'm evolving our template in Asana on the regular, at least every week, from things that we're learning, whether that's a template email in the task description, or whether that's updating the system for implementing pixels and setting up events, like iOS 14 when that came in, all that sort of stuff. So all of that, it's an evolving process. And when I do it, I always put in why, because otherwise people can see a task and then think, oh, I know how to do that, or I don't need to read, into it, or I can probably skip that. But if you have why it's important, that what's going to happen if it doesn't happen, in other words, then or the risks involved in not following that task, then that really prioritizes it, and people take it a bit more seriously. So that's something that I remember to do, is whenever I have a system or a process, I have why you need, not just what it is, how to do it, but why is, I think, also a crucial component to put in there.
Yeah, I love that. Really interesting. And take us through your team. You're saying pre-show that you're finally back in the office after a while of a bit of remote working. What's it like to be back, and what does your team look like, and what's it like to be to have that culture back again, and the water cooler and seeing people in person?
Yeah, no, it's really good, especially because we actually just had a new staff member join as it was all kind of coming down again. So, I've had to onboard him, and it's been about 2.5 months or so of him not even being in the office or meeting any of the team face to face.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a classic scenario. And he's our new account manager. So he's incredible what he does, Chris. And then we've got 2 campaign managers who specialize in paid advertising, Courtney and Melinda. And then we've got Bo, who's our graphic designer. My role is heavier up front in terms of I play the bigger role in strategy. And then things naturally progress from me to Chris and the team over a transition, of a month or so. That's the current setup. Looking to hire again in December, starting to look in November for probably another campaign manager. Is where I've got my campaign manager / account manager is what we need next. So yeah, that's basically the team. It's a team of 5 at the moment, and plus bookkeeper, accountant, all that sort of stuff. But in terms of in the office, it's just us, and we also have a contractor that we use sometimes when we get an overflow of work for Active Campaign and Klaviyo as well. So about 5.5 of us here at the moment, soon to be 6.5.
Yeah. And how have you felt? Have you felt and experienced and dealt with that kind of remote working over the last couple of years, or like how long has it been since you've been based in the office?
It's how long's it been since we've been based in the office? So only about 2.5, 3 months. We were in the office before that. But then this second wave of COVID kind of hit, the new strain or whatever, and then obviously restrictions were implemented. So when we hit that 80% mark, I said to the guys, I'm going to head in the office. You're welcome to as well, and they were were keen. So we've actually got Courtney, who's in Newcastle. She can't come into the office until the 1st of November because Newcastle's class is regional. So
right.
it's a bit shit for her because her family's on the coast as well, so she can't even come and see her family at the moment. But yeah, she's looking forward to coming back in as well. It's definitely good for culture, and yeah, nothing like it. And we have a really good culture here. We're all, I think, good people, and we all get along. Pretty important when I hire people. Cultural fit is a huge component in their behaviour because skills can always be taught. But if they have the right values and they fit into the culture, then that's kind of like 80% of the work done, I think. The right attitude, So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic working remotely versus working in the office, and that cultural piece is super interesting to me at the moment. Is how you maintain culture with. A lot of agencies have global employees all over the world, literally. Like very, very remote and very fragmented. So maintaining that heart of the agency is always really, really interesting in those situations. But having that local team like you do in a space where you can all be together could be a massive advantage in 2022 and beyond, right?
Yeah, 100%. And we can roll with the punches now. We've got the experience. If there's more lockdowns, we just kind of fall back into what we're doing. We implemented standing team huddles just before this wave of lockdown came, where we would all stand up and for 10 minutes and just talk through what our priorities were for the day. We do it every day at 10 o'clock. And so that just transitioned to Zoom. And then that way we could still get FaceTime every day, which was really nice. And then we'd bounce off each other in terms of, I've got this task, can you help me with that? Or have you done this? Because I need to do that. So that became even more important. And I'm glad that we initiated that before this round of lockdown, because it's helped, I think, keep things, keep the culture going, keep, a bit of FaceTime, virtual FaceTime has really helped, especially with Chris being with us now for 2.5, 3 months. He's kind of walked in and feels like he knows everyone, so it's been good.
Yeah. Very cool. So as a way to wrap up, what's the future of social media? We've obviously had some whether it's clickbait or not, some news that Facebook's rebranding itself and all this stuff sort of going on in the space lately, iOS updates and all this sort of stuff, new platforms popping up all the time. Where do you kind of see what's happening in social media right now, and what have you got your eye on? Is there a trend or a platform or something that you've kind of got your eye on as that could be something big that's coming, or what are you seeing trending at the moment?
I'd probably say one of the biggest things has always been native content, but I think that's becoming even more promising in terms of performance. The big higher level production stuff, in a lot of cases, may not be worth what you put into it in terms of time and resources. So user generated content and more native content, certainly. But for me, my focus at the moment is really what I touched on before, the missing link, transitioning people from social media to leads or to a cart, and then what happens from there. That's really what my focus is for the next 12 months, is an extension of social media, and even before social media in terms of the website, so before they obviously end up purchasing on the website. So that's, I guess you kind of frame that as the post-click experience after someone comes from social media, because we know social very, very well, and we get great results. But then when those great results land on a crappy website or a poor sales process, our efforts are diminished, and the client only knows what they know, right? They're unconsciously incompetent, in a nice way, about you don't know what you don't know, and they might have done the same thing their whole business, and then it's like, oh, I have you thought about this, or did you know that? You know, just simple questions and experience. Being a business owner myself, you know, having a team, I can feel a lot of their pain, and I have sometimes walked the path before them, so I can also add strategic value in our workshops, not just around social media, but around driving business growth, and some of the barriers that I see as a third party, you know, kind of a bird's eye view of everything can be really refreshing, you know, and that's why I've had mentors and things like that in the past, because it can just really help to have someone else ask questions of things that, you know, can't see for the forest for the trees sometimes. And that's a lot of strategic value that I think I can add, and will continue to do that moving forward, mainly through, as I said, that post-click experience and sales processes, pipelines, automations, all that sort of stuff. Really interests me, and it has a huge impact. So that's kind of me for the next 12 to 24 months, I'd say.
Yeah, super interesting. So the job's not done once you get the click off social media. It's sort of the starting point. So yeah, really interesting to understand that second part of the journey, which is where a lot of the magic happens, right? So
Yeah.
a lot to work on and a lot to optimize and understanding that process. So I'm sure it'll keep you busy at least for the next 12 months. Yeah, love that perspective. Thanks so much for dropping by, mate. Really good insights. If people want to find out more about you, get connected with you, learn more about what you do, where are some of the best places for them to come and do that?
Yeah, well, obviously my website, I've got a lot of great blog content on there, videos that I've done that really touch on some of my best IP around social media. So you can check that out at missinglinksocialmedia.com.au. Check out our company's Facebook, the links there. Instagram is just at missinglinksocialmedia. Check out my personal LinkedIn profile as well. Connect with me there, follow me there. That'd be great. And posting about once a week at the moment. I'd like it to be more, but I prefer quality over quantity. And that's what it is. So drop a comment there, hit me up with an email if you want to collaborate, or you have any questions. More than happy to talk through any of that. My email is perry@missinglinksocialmedia.com.au. You can give me a buzz. Our numbers on the website too.
Love it, mate. Love it. I'll drop all those links in the show notes as always, so the folks at home can pound one of those links and come and get connected and have a chat with you, mate. Appreciate you dropping by. Really good stuff. Super interesting and super critical stuff to understand and get that front end onboarding expectation stuff right, and then getting that internal workflow process right as well. Those are massive components to really starting to leverage the energy and attention inside your agency in a much better way, getting people working better, faster, more efficient, less back and forth, all that kind of stuff that can drain time and resources. And so a lot of really good stuff for the folks at home listening. Dial in that front end expectation stuff. It'll change your life in your agency.
Yeah, definitely. I can guarantee it.
Thank you so much, mate. Thanks for dropping by.
Beautiful.
Appreciate you being here. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, Perry. Thanks everyone. Cheers.